Guys, shh, please. If you have 2 of any number, this is a perfect square because 2 times 2 is a perfect square. 5 times 5 is a perfect square. So I have 2 small perfect squares inside. Every pair, 1 can come out, and whatever's left over gets left behind. So the square root of 300 is 10 times the square root of 3 once it's been simplified. Now, if I had said, if you recognize a perfect square inside there, 100 is a perfect square. Square root of 100 is 10. The 3 gets left behind. But you'd have to be able to recognize the perfect square inside to find that. Okay. We'll try 48 next. Does everybody have this? Okay. Square root of 48. Does anybody recognize a perfect square inside of 48? No. Okay. I'll show it to you in a minute. But 4 is a perfect square, yes. But 12 would not be completely simplified.
Yeah, use 4 and 12 and just get 4.
Okay. So the square root of 4 is 2, but 12 has another perfect square in it. You're not done.
Another 4.
Another 4. So I would get 2 times 2 times the square root of 3, which would be 4 times the square root of 3. If I did the tree, I'd get the same thing. Right? This is a pair. This is a pair. This is a leftover. The pairs come out. The leftover gets left behind. Same answer.
Would you not use 4 and 4 as a pair?
I could if I didn't factor the 4 first.
Okay.
Anytime you get matching numbers, so yes, you could have factored 48 as 4 times 12 and then gone 3 times 4 and then seen that there's a matching pair of 4s, and that would have been fine. But if I had done this first, then I need to, yeah. Does that make sense? Okay, the next one we had was 750.
How many times are you doing?
10 times 75.
10.
75 is 5 and 15. And 15 is 3 times 5. And 10 is 2 times 5. I have a pair of 5s. And then I have a 2, a 3, and a 5 that don't match anything. So I'll bring out the 5s that match. And 30 gets left behind.
Yeah.
2 times 3 times 5.
So you have to multiply
Whatever's left gets multiplied back together. So 30 was 2 times 3 times 5. Okay, let's try. If you don't like how much space they take up, I can show you how to do them sideways. Let's go back for a second. I got 128.
So we could have done like 25 times 30.
If you saw it, you have to be able to see it. But if you don't see it, then the factor tree will help you. 128, 2 times 64, which is 8 and 8, which is the perfect square. But see, like you can go sideways if you don't like the space that they take up down the paper. You can go sideways across. Right? So 8 times the square root of 2. To find the distance between 2 points, we use the distance formula, and you'll see here it's got a square root, and that's why I want you to be able to simplify square roots. See? Method to my madness. So we call this, oops, wrong pen, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, and we can plug that in. It's the same idea. You plug in your points and you do your math to simplify. Ladies. Okay, so x1 is 6 minus x2, which is 4, and then I'm going to square that, plus y1, which is negative 3, minus y2, which is 5, and I'm going to square that. I need to do what's inside the parentheses first, so the 6 minus 4 and the negative 3 minus 5 comes first. Okay, so that's 2 squared plus negative 8 squared. Now, I kept it in parentheses for a reason, and here's why. Negative 8 squared outside of parentheses and inside parentheses are two different things. Okay, if it's not in a parentheses, this is negative 64 because only the 8 is being squared. If it's inside the parentheses, the negative 8 is being squared, so that becomes positive. So just be careful of that, okay? Because this is negative and then 8 times 8, whereas this is negative 8 times negative 8. Exponents are kind of like a taser. They only affect the thing they directly touch, right? So, no offense, but if I were to taser you, Renata, would LaTroy get shocked? No. But if you guys were holding hands because you were in like a parenthesis and I tasered you, then he would get shocked.
Really? Does that work like that? That's how it works.
Yeah.
I have a taser, so when I tase one person, I can tase two people at one time.
Be careful. So once we've figured that out, it's going to be 2 squared, which is 4, plus 8 squared, which is 64, which gives me the square root of 68. And then I need to see, can I simplify that?
Yes, you can.
Do we recognize any perfect squares in it exactly yet? Or should we factor it?
It's something with 2, probably. Oh, I was right.
Yeah, so 2. So this is going to simplify to 2 times the square root of 17. So the distance between these 2 points is 2 times the square root of 17. Distance is always positive. So while when you take the square root, sometimes it's really actually plus or minus a number. We're only going to deal with the positives because distance can't be negative. Because it doesn't matter if I walk backwards. If I walked a mile, I walked a mile. I didn't walk a negative mile. Right? I just looked funny doing it. Okay, so what we do is we take this xy and we call this x1, y1, and we call this x1, 2, y2. And if I plug that into the distance formula, whoops. Okay, distance. The distance would be then equal to x squared plus y squared.
So the radius is half of the distance.
And the radius is 5 here, right? We're not going to worry about that. So the distance between the center and the edge, distance, is the radius. So I can take this d out and I can put r in.
So radius squared.
Just radius. If I square both sides though, I get the radius squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. This is the equation of a circle with a center at the origin. So the origin being 0, 0. Okay, so if you have a circle that's centered at 0, 0, this is the formula. You can take any point and plug them in and find the radius, and you get x squared plus y squared. So for this particular circle, it's x squared plus y squared equals 25. This is the equation of this circle because the radius is 5, and 5 squared is 25. So plug in radius. to find the equation of this circle, it's at the origin. The center is at the origin. So my formula is going to be x squared plus y squared equals r squared. This is the equation. Okay. So first I have to find radius to be able to plug it in. So to find the radius is the distance between this point and that point. So I'm going to use the distance formula. Okay. So that's going to be 3 minus 0 plus squared plus 8 minus 0 squared. So that's 3 squared plus 8 squared. So that's 9 plus 64, which is the square root of 73. Leave it like this. Okay. Now we're going to plug this in. Okay, so I'm going to take the equation of the circle with the center at 0, 0, which is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. R is the square root of 73, and I'm going to square it. Well, what happens when I square a square root? They cancel each other out, right? Because they're opposite, like multiplication and division or adding and subtracting. Squaring and square roots are opposite, so they're going to cancel each other out. So I'm going to get x squared plus y squared equals 73. So the equation of this circle is that. Okay, so you can skip this step right here. You don't have to write that out. You can just go straight from this to that, because you know if you square the square root, it goes away. So you just take the number that's under here and write it down. Does that make sense? Okay. At the center, the formula changes a little bit. We add a minus h and a minus k. Okay. I'm not going to derive it for you. Do you guys care about the how it's derived, or you okay with just learning the formula? We're going to take this as this is the center, not at 0, 0. Okay, so that's the formula if the center is not at 0, 0. Okay. HK is the point that is the center. This circle, we're going to pretend that they didn't tell us that yet. Okay? Or actually, well, no, we'll keep that. So the formula for this, or the equation for this circle, okay, it is a center at -2, -3, and a radius of 5. This is H, this is K. So I'm going to plug those in to this formula. I have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay. X minus -2, because h is -2. Y minus -3 is equal to 5 squared. Any questions about that part so far? Okay. Minus negatives are positives. So I get x plus 2, y plus 3, and 5 squared is 25. So that's the equation. Oops, I forgot my squared. That's the equation for this circle. we've got a center, 1, -3, and a radius of 3. So this is h and this is k. So I'm going to do x minus h, y minus k, and then r squared. So this one, I don't have to do anything with it. It's already simplified. So I just x minus 1 squared minus a -3 becomes plus 3. And the radius squared is 9.
Okay.
If I give you the center and the radius, yes, that's it.
So you're gonna give us an X and a Y?
Yes. Well,